The following episode is brought to you by Poison City Brewing, proud makers of Durban Poison Cannabis Lager, the beer that invites you to live your poison.
So welcome back to another episode of Sludge Underground. It is Marcel, your host tonight. It is just me. Nasipe is off on adventures elsewhere. And tonight we have a special guest. We have Stanley Sibande. Stanley, introduce yourself and what it is you do.
Well, thank you very much, Marcel. How is it going, guys? So my name is Stanley. I am a singer-songwriter who hails from Zambia, and I ran away from all the bullshit there. Came to South Africa about a year ago. And I've been surviving here since, and yeah, that's basically me. I'm a guitarist, a singer, a songwriter, and yeah.
You simplify it, but you know you're pretty damn good at your craft. Like it's good. off the bat, I can definitely recommend Stanley's YouTube channel and everything else he's doing.
Thank you very much.
Stanley, tell me about it. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say it doesn't really compare to the memeable quality content on your channel, but it's okay.
Well, you're about to surpass me in subscribers, so you're doing something right, my dude. You are on the path to victory there. Challenge accepted, though. Like,
yeah, about to go from a glorious 150 subscribers to a glorious 200.
Yeah, dude, like it's incredible. My dude, tell us a bit more about your music and what it is that you convey.
So with my music, the basic idea behind my music is it's sad music for sad people. That's basically what it is. So I don't know how many times I've told this story thus far, but in my teenagers, like most people, I struggled with issues of mental health, and up until the point I started doing music, I engaged in a lot of very self-destructive behavior, sort of cope, and those run their course as they usually do. Luckily I didn't die, and then I discovered music, and it was this thing that made me feel calm, and it also made me feel understood without me having to inflict pain on myself or on other people. So when I realized that it was possible for me to do this, I was like, oh, why the hell not? And it just sort of played out to be perfect, because sad songs just kind of pour out of me, you know. So yeah, that's the basic idea behind the music that I'm trying to do. It's sad music for sad people.
That's great, man. I find it interesting where you said where you found music, and that was one of the things that helped you cope. I don't know if this experience was the same for you, but I remember discovering music and going into music and thinking, wow, where's this been my entire life?
Yep. Yeah, I actually very specifically I remember listening to A Place for My Head by Linkin Park for the first time, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I just kept on playing it over and over and over. And the thing is, my parents, my we should cover that, by the way.
We really should.
Throwing that out there. My parents and my family in general were very or still are very conservative and very Christian. So when you're playing that type of music, and I used to play it really loud, it irritated a lot of people around me, and I just didn't give a fuck, because it just, it filled that void inside me.
Yeah, man, that's understandable. Well, once you discover that type of music, and once that bug bites you, there's no other way other than loud. It's pretty much how it goes.
Yep. And I played it really loud because I used to scream along to the music.
I'm sure that went down well.
Oh, it went down amazingly. My mother absolutely just loved it. She loved being woken up at 10 a.m. in the morning by her screaming pubescent son. It's just she lived for it.
What every Christian mother longs to hear in the morning.
Exactly, especially if that Christian mother also happens to be a pastor. Fun
Ah,
times.
I love it though. Like I know, so like a fun fact. I don't know if anyone who's ever listens to the podcast is that's how I started music. I started music in a church band. Yes, I used to be a church
Ooh,
boy. I
wee.
used to be part of the worship team. Look where I am
Oh yeah.
now. So so I can
Yeah,
relate to that. Yeah.
I actually also used to play in church. I used to play drums. I absolutely hated it because for some reason musicians in churches kind of suck. For the most part. I mean, there's a lot of really good ones, but the ones that I've met and worked with, a lot of them are just really terrible. They have an ego
Yeah.
about them. I don't know, but
It tends to also be a bit of a dictatorship. There's always a you need to do this here exactly. There's no room for creative flow. There's no room for creative spirit, if that's what you want to
exactly,
call it. And it's a very you do this or you shape up or you ship out essentially.
exactly. And it's like as a musician and as somebody who's expressive through this art, I just was never going to thrive in that environment. And I pity anybody who has to exist within that environment as the only sort of outlet for their creativity as a musician. It's really not a healthy place to be.
Yeah, especially if you like you were saying you want it to be a creative outlet. You know, if you're there
Mm,
to be part of the congregation, if you are there is nothing against that. If you are there
yeah.
to worship, essentially, there's nothing wrong with that. But if it is a platform for you to express your musical creativity, it's not recommended.
Yeah, it's just there's so much red tape. There's so much red tape. There's so many people who could potentially get offended. I see a lot of people these days being very critical of the sort of quote unquote SJW movement these days. I'm one of them, by the way, in case you were wondering,
The
which
the social
which
justice warrior, if I've got the abbreviation right, yeah.
exactly. And it's very much the same in church. So many people could get offended by so many things, and everything has to stop if one person is offended, and it's just
Mm.
like, what? Ugh, I just
This
I can't.
conversation took a dive off the deep end into something very,
Yeah.
very touchy for a lot of people very quickly, which is
Yeah,
basically what I
I'm sorry.
expected.
Tends to happen with me. I've been trying these days to just not go there, and I think I'm doing a great job so far. Well, I completely failed at the beginning of this podcast episode, but generally speaking, I think I've done a pretty good job. For anybody who has me on social media, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, but those views, honestly, sometimes polarizing views. In my personal opinion, I believe they can be good
Hmm.
for you to keep you grounded. To
Yeah.
just because someone has a very opposing view to you, it's you can learn from that. You can learn from each other essentially. But once
Mm.
again, the whole basis of the social justice warrior is there is no room for learning.
Exactly. It's sort of it's gone beyond that because at the beginning of this, it was started as a sort of movement to educate people on issues that they would otherwise be ignorant about. Even me just using the term ignorant right now is kind of making me roll my eyes. But it's progressed. It's progressed to the point where there is no platform for open dialogue, and you either stand with this side that has this notion and you're not allowed to criticize that notion where it might be faulty, or else you're against it and you're on the other side. It's a very us versus them sort of thing, and it's sort of counterproductive to the initial intent of this movement, and I'm just like, okay,
Now,
whatever.
now, circling back to your music, how do these views sort of portray themselves in your music and the things that you write? Is that like a part of the message that you convey, or is it just more for from a mental health perspective, or in just whatever sort of resonates with you at the time?
So my music is I try to keep it pure. I try to let my creativity just go off on a tangent and do its own thing. Usually when I start writing a song or when I'm in the middle of writing a song, I don't even know what it's about until I'm done. And I look at the song and I'm like, oh, okay, it's about doing this or it's about doing that. And I that's very deliberate because I understand that there's a place and there's a need for these conversations to be had. But if you're shoving it in everybody's faces all the time, you're not really helping anything or anyone, not even yourself. You're just annoying everybody around you. And I want to sort of keep that away from my music, because my music is meant for sort of therapeutic purposes. You know, like if you're feeling really down, go and listen to a couple of Stanley Sibande songs, cry in a ball on the floor at 3 a.m. and wake up the next day and go to work. You know, it's
You say this like I don't
that's
do
what
this on a daily. But, but like the funny thing I find about this is that speaking to you as an individual and listening to your music, it's one of those things where you kind of don't expect it. How do I say, your personality and your music are tend to come across as polar opposites because of how calm and, how do I say, soulful your music is, versus that you are a relatively brash and outspoken human being. Like, you would stop singing and someone would be like, cool, this is a shy lad, let me approach gently. And it's just, well, fucking hell.
Yeah, so the thing is, with the type of with this music that I do, and just generally speaking in life, I don't like expressing or acknowledging vulnerability, which is something that's very, very present in the music that I do. So the moment the music stops, you're not going to see it. It's only there when the music is playing. The moment it stops, there's three giant ass fucking walls hurling political opinions at you, and you're not going to be able to get past them. It's sort of a coping mechanism. This one is kind of hurtful. It's kind of harmful to me in social situations, but yeah, that's the basic idea behind it.
No, man, it's cool though. It's in all honesty, it's beyond the norm in that sort of sense. Like I was saying, most people expect your acoustic artists to be, at your more reserved guys. Now, what I want to talk about as well is something that's happened quite recently. What's this happening with Just Music?
Yes. By the way, I apologize for the dog that's barking in the background.
It adds to the ambiance.
Indeed, he's a very good boy, but he gets very antsy when his owners come back home. But anyway, the thing with Just Music, the thing with Just Music is, so I've been working with this company called Sit the Folk Down for the last about year and a half. I've been working with them basically since I got to South Africa, and they're a live music company. They do bookings for artists, they manage artists, and last year they acquired a studio and they started recording artists. I was one of them, and after acquiring the studio, they sort of made like a migration into doing label services and stuff like that. And it just so happens that they were in discussion with Just Music about being in partnership with that side of Sit the Folk Down. And when they closed the deal, they were like, hey, man, would you like to get signed to the partnership that Just Music has with Sit the Folk Down? And I was like, yes, please.
How about hell yes?
Yeah, it's very weird because the first sort of introduction I had to South African music was discovering Matthew Mole on MTV in 2013. And at that point, the videos that were playing on MTV were the Just Music session videos that he did. And I was like,
yes.
oh my God, this is so cool. And that was my sort of introduction into SA music. And so in my mind, it's been like, as an artist that's doing the type of music that I'm doing, that's a pretty unreachable place. And then it just isn't in a matter of like a month. It's a very, very weird feeling.
No, I can imagine. And the thing is, looking at Matthew Mole, he's a very inspiring person because he's an incredibly talented artist. And
exactly.
to now be on a similar path must be an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it is. It's I don't really know how to explain it. It's like there's a possibility that my trajectory and my path could go very much the same way that his did. That's very exciting. There's also the possibility that it possibly won't, and I've been saying this to myself jokingly for the last few weeks after just getting signed to SDFD. And just I was like, dude, if it doesn't work now, it's probably you. It's that weird sort of like going back and forth between those two thoughts. It's very interesting to say the least.
I think that's a natural thought process as a musician, though. We tend to be very self-critical creatures. We tend to be very hard on ourselves. And let's be honest, given the state of the South African music scene, or, you know, I guess you could say the African music scene as a whole, it's very difficult to even do these things. The infrastructure is just not there. And it's you know, 80% of absolutely ball-busting work and a lot of luck, you know? And just putting it out there, if you get up there, I'm available as a session guitarist. I'm just letting you know.
Oh my dude, 100%. Of course, if I do get famous, when I get famous, I'm gonna be an absolute tool. Okay, I'm gonna make it hell for every single one of you motherfuckers, but I will hire you and pay you well, so you don't have to worry about that.
Man's got to eat, brother.
Exactly. But I will make you work for it.
I'm currently a corporate slave. I think I can do that. That's fine. I've been conditioned.
It was so weird. First of all, before I say anything about this, do the people who are listening know what you do when you're not being a crime-fighting superhero and podcaster at night?
Yes. Actually, I've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, so it should be common knowledge that I am indeed a banker.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Marcel, the guy with the guitar?
You should see me in my uniform.
The videos?
It's really
Jesus Christ.
It's really funny though, because people who meet me at work can't imagine that I'm a musician in a metal band.
Yeah.
And people who meet me outside of work can't imagine that I work in a bank.
Yes.
So it's really funny.
I can't imagine those two sort of personas or consciousnesses. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Those
Consci.
two sort of consci. We're coining that term. Okay, Sludge Underground, circa 2020. I can't imagine those two consciousness says existing in one head. It's like the middlehead is just gonna fuck up the banker all the time. Shut the fuck up, you little nerd. You know.
I will not lie. They were at odds for a very long time, but I've managed to consolidate both into to one super being who is very anxious most of the time.
Yeah. If I ever tour down in Durban, we're totally gonna have a fucking show inside your bank and trash the whole fucking place.
Sweet. It sounds like a plan. Also, if anyone from work is listening to this, I will be at work tomorrow. I promise. And it's fantastic. So you're doing music full time, to the best of my understanding.
Yes, I am.
How now? Obviously, as a full-time musician, lockdown must be an absolute fuck up for you at this point.
Oof. Yeah, it has been in a lot of ways. I've been very lucky to sort of just land in situations where I'm surrounded by people who are very supportive and very understanding, and that's sort of been the entire trajectory of my journey. It's just been like understanding, helpful, kind people the entire way. And so when lockdown started, I was scrambling. I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? But I've survived. I've survived with the little that I'm doing that could make me money. I've still managed to survive because I've got a very, very good support system around me, and I'm surrounded by really good people. There's literally no other way I can explain this. There's literally no other way that I have not ended up homeless or, you know, like in a really bad situation, other than people just being helpful and nice. And it's been very, I'm still not used to it. I've been here a year. I've met so many people who are just nice to you for absolutely no reason at all. And I just still don't understand. It's like, why are people so nice? Of course, they're cunts. There are cunts everywhere in South Africa, and especially in the music scene, in the music industry. But there's so many nice people who will just help you for the sake of doing it, you know? And that's the only way that I've been able to survive. Otherwise, yes, lockdown has been a giant sandpaper dildo.
I am stealing that phrase, just so you know. But
I stole it from Deadpool.
it's so heartwarming to hear about people in the scene, in the community, and these sort of things being so helpful. It's honestly what we need more of, in especially
Yeah.
in such a scene that is in such a fledgling state. There's so much work that needs to be done, so much infrastructure that needs to be built. And hearing of these sort of stories makes you're fuzzy inside. You honestly want more of it to happen, and it's a good sign of things progressing in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I don't. I'm trying to think of how to put this in words. It's I hear a lot of people talk about how there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built for live music. But when I look at it now, it's just a matter of years, because the people to build it are there, and the environment is here, because here there are people to listen to the music regardless of what music that you do, and there are people who are going to do that music, and um, there's a very sort of huge spirit of camaraderie around musicians that I've seen in South Africa that I haven't necessarily seen in Zambia. So it's definitely possible. I mean, it's just going to take the right people.
No, man, that's good. That's I honestly do agree with that. It's a big part of what Sludge Underground is to just try and be a part of that infrastructure, to give artists like
Yeah.
yourself a platform to speak openly and honestly about who they are as artists, to anyone who will listen. And
Well, yeah, you guys are doing a bang up job of that. I mean, I've tried to follow the podcast as much as I can from the time I was in Zambia. I think that was like 2018 when I was hitting you up about wanting to be on the podcast.
that was before
And
we
you
even
guys
knew
are
about doing anything remotely.
exactly.
Lockdown taught us this.
And then 2020 just came in with a giant flog and was like, learn, bitches, learn.
Adapt, survive, overcome.
Exactly. I forgot that meme existed.
No, man. But now what I want to ask is like so you're obviously doing music in Zambia. If I remember correctly, you had a band in Zambia, if that's correct.
Yes, I did. It was a band called Austenite Echo.
Yes, I remember it
And
had echo in it. Not just
yeah. And it was a very interesting sort of idea behind the band. So we were an alt metal hard rock band in Zambia, where the rock slash metal scene is almost completely non-existent. I mean, it consists of like probably like 100, maybe 150 people in the entire Zambia. You know, it's like if you enter the rock and metal scene, you will know everybody within about 2 weeks.
shit.
So yeah, it was a very interesting time trying to sell that band as a thing, you know. But at the same time that I was doing that, I was also doing what I'm doing here, which is some solos, much more chilled out stuff on the side, and that got me a lot of cover gigs, which helped keep me going. But yeah, that was me in Zambia. It was Austin Echo, the metal band, and then there was this, which is this Stanley Sibande, the acoustic guitar sad song guy.
No, man, it's such a great sort of evolution. The fact that you kept going, like most people, when the type of music that they want to make is not feasible, they kind of just give up. And you just moved to a whole other fucking country, like to pursue this, and that is one of the most fucking admirable things I've ever heard.
Well, at some point, I decided that I was gonna be doing music as a thing for the rest of my life just before I finished college. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, I did go to college. I studied electrical engineering, and then when I was done, I was like, "Fuck it, I'm not doing that." So when I was when I was done with college, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna do music for the rest of my life." And after doing it for like 2 years in Zambia, I saw that it wasn't really gonna be possible or viable. So I either had to change the type of music that I was doing, and the music scene in Zambia is it's very black and white. So you're either making music to like make people dance in clubs, or you're making music that people are playing in churches, which none of those things are what I do. So I decided to change my environment. And at the time when I decided to leave Zambia, I was initially supposed to be moving to the United States. And I started raising the money, and I managed to raise all of the money. And I started doing research into the place where I was going to move and what the scene was like there, and blah blah this and blah blah that. And as I did more research and spoke to more people who were in the United States, I realized that if I did move there, it was going to chew me up and spit me the fuck out. So I had to start or try something more familiar. And at the time, I mean, I'm pretty sure you know this, at the time my friends list was like chock full of South Africans. And so I just started hitting people up. I started hitting people up, asking them about venues they knew of. I started Googling venues. I was sending like 150 emails a day, something close to that. It's like trying to reach out to venues and book as many gigs as I could. And it worked. It worked when I had organized enough gigs. I set a date for myself, which was like, okay, by this date, you need to be in South Africa. So you need to leave on this date and this date. And the date that I set for myself was the 21st of February. So I knew I had to leave the town where I lived on the 17th. And so I left that place on the 17th. I got to the capital, which is Lusaka. And from there, I caught a bus to Johannesburg, spent the night at a friend's place, and I caught a flight to Cape Town the next day, and I've been here ever since.
That's fucking incredible, man. Like, I honestly, I can say that I've been in a situation where I've had to be rooted by so many things, and to have the balls, the chutzpah, to
Chutzpah.
to do this is crazy, man. It's such an inspirational story, like, to just drop everything, know you have to make a change, and just take a fucking chance. That's incredible, man. Like,
No, I
it's
really
unbelievable.
appreciate it, dude. I mean, it's like this. The thing that led me to choosing to do what I did, which in hindsight was a very stupid thing to do, because there was a lot of plot holes in my plan, which just happened to work because I landed in the right situation. But anyway, what led me to making that decision was I sort of saw or heard an interview that somebody was doing, and it was about politics, and the person who was speaking was like, whichever path you choose, you're fucked. Whatever way you choose to go, there's a set of problems that are going to present themselves, and you're going to have to deal with them. So why not do something or choose something that serves you the best if
Sure.
it succeeds?
That is some hardcore advice, man. Like, I think I'm
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to take that to heart, because that's just, I've had a fucking epiphany right here.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's like you have to choose at some point. You have to, and it's a very, very difficult choice to make, especially when it comes to like the industry that we're in. Because if you're going to be in music, and I know a lot of people are able to live the sort of day job life and musician in the nightlife, but if you're going to do it like to the point where you actually try to like properly conquer, you're gonna have to choose between music and working. And you can choose your career, that's absolutely fine and it's respectable, but if you want music, at some point you will have to stop doing everything else.
yeah, no, 100%, I do agree.
Yeah.
It's an all or nothing thing. And as a musician who does the day job and then the music by night, I can personally vouch for the fortitude required, because sometimes you end up with the desire to do neither. And I can guarantee you I've had times where I've just sat here and been like, I want to fucking go back to work, but I don't want to pick up an instrument either. And it's draining, because music is a draining thing. It requires your absolute all, and it's cruel. Music is rough, man. Like, I think from the outside looking in, it looks all fucking dandy, but I'm pretty sure you've thrown your instrument away and been like, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore. And then picked it up about 20 minutes later and been like, cool, here's a song. That sounded good. Like, sounded better than anything else I wrote tonight.
Exactly. And it's like I from time to time I tend to think about people like you who are like guitarists, and this the kind of stuff that you play at.
Whoa, whoa!
Yeah,
I
it's
first
like
want to unpack that. What does that mean?
it's like you're an actual like guitarist who
That's
plays
debate.
actual guitar.
That's debatable. But let's carry on.
Because it's like I look at some of the stuff that you've posted online. It's like you're covering Born of Osiris and you're covering these fucking deathcore bands, and that shit is not easy. And you have to come back home from work where there's been Karens fucking chewing your ear off the entire fucking day about how their card is not working, about how this fucking shit is happening. And then you have to sit down and figure out this difficult ass Born of Osiris fucking riff. I mean, like, Jesus Christ. You're strong, man.
I appreciate that compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I can give you a context to so one of the more interesting situations that I've had, just breaks down how most of my days go. I once had an old man scream at me because I didn't know the password to unlock his cell phone. Yes, just let's leave it at that, and everyone else can think about the logic behind this question and why I was in trouble. So you can never see yourself in a 9-to-5, a day job. I'm sure that would be just mental suicide for you.
Yeah, well, I can see myself doing that. I can also see myself killing myself. Very few months after that. But
I'm trying to imagine a cleaned up Stanley Sibande in a suit and tie off to the office. And let me tell you, it's not working.
Yeah. Please let it not work. Oh God, I would hate it. This so when I was doing electrical engineering, we had this thing where you had to do sort of like an internship, and you had to do it twice during the time that you were studying, and you did it for about maybe 5 or 6 months, and I hated it so much. It was so crushing. It was like you just doing the same thing every single day. I'm realizing that's pretty much the same thing as being a musician, but
there's a difference when you're passionate about something.
That is true. That is true. And
there is a difference when you're
passionate about it.
Yeah,
it's just like you go there and there's old people talking to you, and you know, like, old people are nice, and you're like, I don't want to fucking talk to these old people. I want to be home playing my guitar, but here I am, and it's it's that sort of thing. So yeah, I can't see myself working at a 9-to-5.
Oh man, that's I can personally vouch for you. It's soul crushing, but you really know this. Now, one of the things I want to ask is, we're talking about live performances. Now, what would you say for you is the funnest thing about performing live? Would it be down to the actual performing, the audience engagement, the after the shows, or just the moment itself, just the conveying a message?
So I can sort of maybe list it, because there's quite a few things I enjoy.
Just give me a second before you start. I just want to grab a smoke. I'm going to edit that out. Now that they're fucking legal again. God damn it. I've been a criminal for 5 months.
Dude. Please leave this in. Please leave this in. I'm begging you. Oh, man. But anyway, getting back to it. Okay. So the things that I would say are my favorite. First of all, it's actually just being on stage. I'm back. All right.
Sire.
Okay, I am here. Hello.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
I unplugged my headphones.
God damn it! Those smokes got you feeling some type of way, huh?
No, dude, definitely the excitement to walk into Checkers and be like, "Can I please have a box of Pall Mall Red?"
Dude, like I'm not a smoker. I'm not like
a cigarette smoker, but you've just given away what you actually smoke. I hope you know that wasn't subtle at all.
You know what, Marcel? You know what? Whatever. Okay. I'm not gonna address it. Okay. If I don't address it, it means it's not true. So shut up. But oh man, I'm really happy for everybody who smokes though. Yeah, it's like, if you wanna tar your lungs up, you should be allowed to make that decision.
Yes,
But
yes,
that's
you
not what
should.
we're discussing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, we had wildly off topic there.
yeah. So about performing, the things that I enjoy about performing live. So the first thing that I would say I enjoy a lot about performing is standing in front of other human beings. There's a weird sort of, I don't want to sound like a hippie, but I'm gonna sound like a hippie. There's a weird sort of like energy that's just around like gigs with actual human beings there. I mean, it feeds you and it pushes you to keep on going. It's easy for you to sort of know if you're doing something right and if you aren't, if you're somebody who's attentive. And it's just that sort of back and forth that you have with the people that I absolutely love. That is my most favorite thing about performing live. The second thing I love most about performing live is actually just like standing on stage and performing. Because for me, when I write music to perform live. I don't write songs to record them. I write them to perform because, especially for me being like an acoustic guitarist, a solo musician, it's very personal. So when I write a song and I'm able to perform it as I wrote it, I really really love that. And doing that in front of other people is just absolutely amazing, where people can see the emotion that you're trying to convey with the song. Like nothing comes close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's probably one of the most relatable things I've heard. I honestly agree with you
Mm.
that performing in front of people, that vibe of an audience, that knowing you're entertaining someone, whether you're shit
Yeah.
or wonderful, you're entertaining someone,
Exactly.
and it's wonderful. It's honestly probably it's one of the best feelings. There is no way of describing it. And so I heard you were struggling to find the words, but there is
Mm.
honestly no way. Only another performer would understand.
Exactly. And the other thing about performing live is there's alcohol. I I like me a good beer. I like me a good beer, and
I
when I have
always
a
have
good beer in me,
always have a court on stage with me.
always have a quart with you, mate. Always have a quart. When I have a nice beer in me, I get very warm and fuzzy, and it adds a little bit of juice and lubrication to the performance. I sound like I'm talking about some weird fetish, but yeah, yeah.
I'll just edit it for the only thing that you say is lubricant.
Oh,
With zero fucking context.
this guy just got on the podcast and would not stop saying lubricant and lubrication.
Just repeat it to 30 minutes of you repeating lubricant. That's it.
It's like,
That's the
yeah,
entire episode.
it's like, oh, lubricant.
Now, speaking of said lubricant, have you ever tried to perform in a state that you should not have?
Oh man, I thank God. I thought that conversation was gonna go way left of field. Um,
It still has the
um,
potential to, you
I encourage it to. I 100% encourage it to. But speaking of performing in states that you shouldn't, yes, as a matter of fact, I have many a time. So first time it was like it was a proper mess. Was my birthday last year, which is the 2nd of October. I went to an open mic that a friend of mine used to curate before the apocalypse begun. And because it was my birthday, they just would not stop buying me tequila.
Oh God.
And so, yep. And I wouldn't stop taking it either. So I just kept on downing these tequilas. And then at some point, they put a guitar in my hand and put me on stage. And it was a fucking mess. I don't remember any of it, but the people who were there were like, yo. So I completely forgot how to play guitar. Um, I forgot the lyrics to the song that I was singing, and I just kept on looping the chorus back and back and back. This is all people's accounts of what happened. I don't remember any of this, but yeah, that was a that was a very, very,
Did you
very
ever play this?
interesting
Were you
one.
ever invited back to this venue?
Yes, I was. She's actually a very, very nice person, and it's on top of me not knowing how to play guitar and how to sing. I accidentally knocked over one of her speakers. It was a very chaotic night.
Oh, God.
So yeah, but they did invite me back, and I've performed many, many times. But that was a fun night that I can't remember. I still get like random flashbacks every once in a while, and I'm like, oh my god.
Back in
But
Nam.
yeah, it's like I'm on YouTube and I hear somebody randomly shout tequila, and I just freeze with PTSD. It's like ching, ching, boom.
I can relate. I've had an incident where I've gotten to stage, looked at my guitar, and thought, "How do I play this trumpet?"
How do I play it? But it's definitely fun. It's definitely fun. I mean, when you don't really have any obligation to give a good performance,
Oh,
by all
believe me, I
means,
had an
step on
obligation. I
stage.
just,
Oh shit.
and when you play in a metal band, you know things can go south very quickly.
Exactly. You gotta be tight. You gotta be tight, and
Yes.
yeah, alcohol isn't really known for making people tight. I was gonna make a joke about that, but I just shouldn't. It's
Leave it
gonna
up.
get me in
Leave
a
it
lot
up
of
to the
trouble.
imagination.
Yeah.
Okay, so going to the polar opposite of that, the messy performances, the the dives, the tequilas. What show stands out to you as your most memorable? I ask this question a lot, but it's
Mm,
such an interesting question because there's so many different things that make a memorable show. You know, some people talk about the show in front of 1,000. Some people talk about those small, intimate shows. Which one for you stands out? Even if it's a couple, try and rank them.
mm. So the best show that I had was the show that I did with So Far Sounds. It was last year in September, 22nd of September specifically. I still remember the day. I was so excited and nervous because like So Far is such a huge, huge deal all around the world. And I was invited to do it, and I was like, oh shit, don't fuck it up. Oh shit. Of course, I maybe kind of did fuck it up. Maybe just a little bit. When the video comes out, you guys will be able to decide for yourselves. But yeah, that was my most like memorable, exciting show that I ever did. The second most memorable would probably be so about a month after I got here, the same person who curates the open mics, I went to her open mic night for the first time, and I performed, and for some reason they were all blown away. And she was organizing a show at the V&A Waterfront Amphitheater, and she was like, "Hey man, would you like to come and maybe play one or two songs?" And I was like, "Sure." And I did that, and it was really fucking cool, and I really had a good time. Those are what I would say were my two most memorable shows so far.
That's so dope, man. Like, I actually can't
Mm,
wait for this video then, because I will judge you critically.
please do.
And yeah, I mean, like it's always interesting to hear people's takes on their favorite shows. And
Mm.
you know, moving from that, in what are your plans moving forward now that we are in level 2 of lockdown and we can actually perform again, we can actually do things again?
Mm. Well, my plan for now is to obviously start getting as many gigs as humanly possible. I mean, very soon I'm gonna start working on my album because I kind of have to do that since I just signed a record deal. But aside from that, it's getting as many shows as humanly possible. I've really really missed performing to people, you know, and just having a nice night out, getting a little bit debaucherous, and just waking up to absolute regret the next day. That's something I would say I've missed the most about performing live, and I just want to get back to that, you know, just get back to loathing myself the way most musicians do. which you really can't do when you're at home alone. I mean, you can, but it's a different flavor of self-loathing.
It's a different taste of self-loathing.
Yeah.
Finished me. Oh man, honestly, I've seen people complaining about the maximum of 50, and I've also seen the jokes about the do you honestly expect more than 50 people to show up? And
Exactly. Like,
which has been a sick burn to some people whose egos may have just been seriously deflated at that point.
oh man, if you're a live musician in South Africa and you still have an ego, what the fuck are you doing? I mean, unless you're like super famous, because nobody comes to shows. Unless you really punt it, you put some money into like social media, sponsorships and all of that stuff. But if you're just like a regular run-of-the-mill band or musician like me, it's like get off your fucking high horse.
It's
50 people are not coming to your show.
it's so interesting though, to hear you say it that way, because like even the guys who you could say have made it are so humble in so many ways. I mean, I've had the chance to speak to the guys from Short Straw. I've had the chance to speak to Graham Watkins, and these guys are so humble. They're so approachable. Approachable is the wrong word, but they're so that's it. They're so humble, and they don't have these egos about there's the set standard.
Yeah, that's actually something I would say I've noticed about South African musicians as well, with the interactions that I've had with people who are on the more successful side of being a musician. I've interacted with the guys from Prime Circle, and they're just so nice. They're just like they're normal people. They're normal people who just happen to be musicians who have released many platinum albums, and it's like, how are you so grounded when you've done so much cool shit? Because you kind of expect people who are that successful to be complete dicks, but then in South Africa it's different. I mean, there are those people, I won't mention their names, but I'm pretty sure you know exactly who I'm talking about. um, but for the most part, people are just so chilled, so chilled, and it's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like fuck, I got super tongue tied there for a second. Ah, God.
Are you sure you picked up a cigarette and not a cigarette?
Yes, maybe, perhaps.
Okay. I think I should pick myself up a cigarette as well.
Sorry, I'm just gonna go garden some herbs. How speaking about like artists, like being Jesus, why the fuck can't I speak? Speaking of artists who are humble, the guys who have made it and these sort of things, who would you say are some of your favorite local artists? Who would you say have directly influenced you, not necessarily your sound or who you are as how you make your music, but have influenced your work ethic, your drive as an artist?
Well, with regards to work ethic, the people I sort of look up to in South Africa are the likes of people like Francois Van Coke, because the way they've managed to basically make themselves a self-sustaining brand is really, it's amazing. They don't need anybody else, and that's something that I strive towards as a musician. It's kind of like an asshole thing to say, but when you're relying on people, there's so many things that could go wrong, and looking at the way Francois and everybody from Fuck Off do their thing, it's like they've streamlined everything to where things could still go wrong, but very little could go wrong because they are in charge of everything. So that's something that I really admire from the business side of things. With regards to like putting yourself out there and doing as much as you possibly can as a musician, I would have to make reference to Jeremy Loops. Jeremy Loops is doing a lot, like a lot.
I
Yeah,
can agree with you there.
he's an absolute machine, dude. And so it's like if I can get myself to that level of dedication and just like tunnel vision, like I'm gonna fuck the entire world with my South African musician dick. If I can get to that level, like, oh, dude.
Well,
You
the
know?
world is not prepared for the bend over that is about to experience.
Exactly. And with regards to just like being people in general, I would have to talk about Prime Circle because they're just like so chilled out and such nice dudes. I mean, when I won that prize in the competition, they messaged me and they were like, congratulations. They checked out my video on YouTube and they're all just so nice and so humble. You know, so yeah, those are the musicians I would say I kind of look up to.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Prime Circle because that's the first South African band that I ever watched live.
Really?
Yeah, like I was I got into the music scene, like I kind of dived headfirst into it. I only started playing when I was about 16, and I didn't even know we had local music. At the time, I didn't even know Prime Circle was local. Like I
Whoa.
was that much of a disappointment. And like not much has changed, but you know, uh, it
Come on, man. Come on.
like I discovered live music. I think Prime Circle, seeing them live and seeing the reaction and how good they were, how good they performed, even
Mm,
as a musician who could barely play four chords at the time, they could
yeah.
recognize how tight and clean their performances were. And just once again, they were such humble dudes on stage.
Yeah.
And that was honestly one of the most inspiring things. And it really plays a role. Like, you know, these guys realize the impact that they have on aspiring musos around them.
Yeah. And it's very that sort of level of self-awareness when you're that successful, I think is a very, very difficult thing to maintain. Because when you get to that point where you're making so many people so much money, and I know for a fact that Prime Circle is definitely there, there's going to be a lot of people blowing smoke up your ass, and it's very easy to just believe them because you're not surrounded by anybody else who's checking you. So when I see people who've achieved that level of success and are still functioning normal human beings, I really admire it. I really, really do.
No, yeah, it's an admirable thing all around. It's yeah,
Yeah,
it's a sign of a true level head, to be honest.
exactly. And it's being a musician, it's like there's people who are never going to have even a sliver of the taste of success that Prime Circle has, and they're still massive tools, you know?
I know
S-
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah. So it's like it's really, really refreshing to see a band that is so influential and that so many people and so many other bands look up to, that is just like chilled out. You know, it's nice to see that, and I definitely applaud the boys for being that way. Mm.
No, dude, that's it's like I said, it's definitely something admirable, and it's definitely
Yeah,
worth being applauded, to be honest. Now,
yeah.
we have been at this for basically an hour,
Ooh
and
wee.
yeah, it's time flies. It's been now in sort of heading in towards closing. Where can people find your music? Where can people find you on social media?
Mm. Okay, so on social media you can find me on Facebook at Stanley Sibande Music. If you'd like to see some dank memes, you can send me a friend request on my personal profile, which is Stanley Sibande, and that's Sibande. You can find me on Instagram with the same handle, which is Stanley Sibande Music. You can find me on YouTube at Stanley Sibande. It's pretty much the same across all platforms, including streaming. So if you want to check out my music and you use Deezer or Spotify or Apple, just search for Stanley Sibande, and there's definitely gonna be some stuff that comes up.
That's cool, man. Do you have any shout outs? You were saying that you have this a wonderful support structure. Is there anyone you would like to thank specifically tonight?
Ooh, that is a very good question. Thank you for putting me on the spot. um, who would I like to thank? Well, I would like to thank Kevin Ramage for making so many things possible for me as a musician, because on the side of Sit the Folk Down, both Kevin and John, actually. So Kevin Ramage and John Shaban are the absolute fucking best human beings on the planet. And, you know, being a disheveled kid from Zambia who just had a guitar, they gave me a chance. And from that, I was able to, you know, work and prove myself. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if they didn't give me a chance. So massive shout out to them. Huge shout out to Alana Joy Wells. So Alana Joy is a musician as well, and I highly encourage you to go and check her out because she's fucking amazing. If you like Fleetwood Mac, you're definitely gonna fucking love her. And she's the person who actually curates the open mic that I made mention of, and she got me super fucked on my birthday, which I'm still in. Yeah, so huge thank you to her, because she actually introduced me to the people at the waterfront, and I was able to do a lot of really cool shit with the waterfront. So huge thank you to her, and I could keep on going, dude.
It could just go on endlessly. Basically, anyone
Yeah.
who's had a big impact and helped you move through this, and it's like, once again, it's heartwarming knowing that there's that support structure there.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
yeah.
It's also very nice to know that it's still possible for people to be this way, especially in such a cutthroat industry where it's sort of built on people sort of clawing at each other and pulling each other down. Finding this sort of support structure is very cool and very nice.
No, man, definitely. Now, what we do is with the show, we play out on one of your tracks. What song would you say describes you best?
This is a good one. Okay. So the song that I would say describes me best is the first single that I put out, which is Rivicog. Of course, I just recently put out a single as well, and I'm supposed to be doing promo for that single. But since you asked the question and you asked for honesty, Rivicog best describes me.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be playing out on that one. Now,
alrighty.
Guys, in closing, I have been Marcel. You can find me on pretty much all the platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as Marcel Smuts. On Instagram, it is Thorns of Sludge. You should check out my YouTube channel. Me and Stanley have actually done a video together, and we are going to be doing more videos together. So if you like Megas XLR, if you're a fan of old school cartoons, we've done a video together. And if I don't say so myself, it's a pretty fucking dope video. Like, we did a pretty damn good job. Stanley if you want to see a different side of Stanley's vocals, I would say definitely go check it out.
Yeah, it's like, okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna suck both of our dicks right now and say that is the absolute best cover of the Megas XLR opening song on YouTube. Quote me on that. Whoever is listening, quote me on that. The cover that Marcel and I have done is the absolute fucking best. You're not gonna find a better one. So you better go and check it out.
I agree.
I'm like such a tool right now.
Yeah, I'm not an egotistical person, but before we did this, I went and checked it out, and I was like, dude, we can totally fuck everyone up. So,
come on, man.
Guys, this has been Stanley Sibande. Then this is Rivicog. Thank you so much for tuning in. All the best.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Protecting my own fears. Pull me in so I can scream my tears. Guide me through the darkness that I hear, so I can find the light with you, my dear. I'm alone in this blinding silence, kicking and punching away. I'm alone in this me from rich, vibrant colors of gray. Take me out into the dead of day. Teach me how to smile and see the pain hiding in the color of your eyes. Medicated till we're black and white. I'm alone in this blinding silence, kicking and punching away. I'm alone in this world that eyes me from rich, vibrant colors of gray. Time passes by, slowly collapse into the sky, into your mind. Stare at the wall, knock on your door. Pick up the phone and save your soul. I'm alone in this blinding silence, kicking and punching away. I'm alone in this world that eyes me from rich, vibrant colors of gray. I'm alone in this blinding silence, kicking and punching away. I'm alone in this world that eyes me from rich, vibrant colors of gray.